Mentioned my name is Byron Rock, and I'll be talking to you guys about a little about my company, and then a little bit about what it's like to be in landscape design and also your own business. So basically, the way I define myself is I would say I'm an entrepreneur, and I started my own company. The one you see up there, it's B-Rock Landscaping. And what we do is we build commercial and residential landscape projects around the city of Winnipeg. And we also do some stuff outside of Winnipeg, as well as on Ontario and Saskatchewan. And these are just a sample of the different projects we do. This is a commercial project, and of course this is a residential project. Again, it's a commercial project there, and another commercial slide. We also build and design furniture for our clients. So this is one of the programs we use to draft our furniture, and this is the end result, are these pieces that you see here. So I basically got my start in I guess landscape design and the industry back when I was in university, and I went to University of Manitoba, and basically, like most young people, I didn't really start studying my courses right away. I was more interested in chasing girls and finding the beer bashes and all that kind of fun stuff. But when I smartened up and I decided to graduate, I finished off a Bachelor of Arts with a major in economics and a minor in business administration. And so as far as work experience goes, my last job was in lawn maintenance, and that's kind of where I started my business. I had worked for a lawn maintenance company that summer. And basically, I said to myself, I wanted to run my own business. So I went out and I bought an old beat-up pickup truck, and my girlfriend at the time and we went into my parents' basement and we made homemade signs. I took those, blitzed them all over the neighborhood. And what I quickly realized was it's very easy to get work, but a lot harder to keep up with it. So I had to start hiring people, and that's all where it started, and I haven't looked back since. So if you fast forward 12 years to today, my typical day starts off where I wake up and my voicemail is full and I got 30 to 100 emails I got to reply to. So I start off by trying to clear out the priority ones there. And then I go on to doing meetings with clients and architects and engineers. And of course my staff, and we look after all of our sites. So being your own boss, I have the option to delegate work. So even if I'm swamped with work, I can control the, I guess you could say, the flow of the work that comes to me. And if I feel like there's a task that I can't do, I'll delegate it to someone within my company that I feel can better learn from that task. And so that ties into the next topic I want to talk about, and that's being a leader. And the reason I chose this career was, number one is, simple answer is I love what I do. I love designing beautiful spaces for my clients. I love designing commercial spaces that, for example, the one we did for Golden Door, you saw a slide of, it was basically for people who were in their 90s and their 80s, and they're in a retirement home. And that was going to be one of the last places that they're going to obviously enjoy, because that's their home, is this retirement home. So we designed a space that was very warm and welcoming for them. So there's a lot of job satisfaction in being able to provide something that gives a lot of people happiness and the chance to reconnect with nature and feel like they have their own kind of space to connect. And we do that, of course, for clients in residential too, where we'll make a private oasis in their backyard for them. So back to being a leader, basically, if you want to be an effective leader, I found that there's two things that help me in managing the 40 employees we have at the peak of our season. And over the next 10 years, many of you are going to be going into your careers, and at some point you're going to be asked to manage a group of clients, or you're going to be asked to manage a group of employees. And what I found works really well to get people to be motivated and to see you as a leader is, number one, you have to appreciate them. And no matter how small the task they might be playing in your company, by giving them obviously compliments and pointing out that their task helped facilitate that end goal is going to make you a very effective leader. That's going to build in their eyes that you care about them, and that plays a lot into having good, I would say, emotional intelligence of knowing how someone else feels and how and that you really appreciate them. Number two, I would say, is you have to spend time and you have to lead by example. So in the construction industry, I'll give you an example. We have something called core certification. It's basically a big safety program that's national, and safety is huge in construction because at the end of the day, you're responsible for a lot of your employees and whether or not they're going to go home with one less finger, one less arm, or not even come home at all. So you cannot cut corners on safety. And so being core certified requires you be diligent with checking off checklists, things like that, wearing your vests all the time, wearing your steel toe boots, making sure there's traffic controls. And a lot of the guys that I had hired from previous years before we got core certified were not wanting to follow these procedures right away. So when we decided we want to go to that route, I was diligent where I would come to site and I would follow every procedure to the T. And over time, as we're trying to go through this auditing process, these guys would start to come on board and say, okay, the boss is doing this, so we're going to start doing this. Now, if I kind of said, well, we're only going to do this when the auditor comes around and we're just going to sidestep it, then they're not going to follow that lead. They're going to just be like, well, he's not doing it, so we're not doing it. So you have to lead by example. As far as getting into construction, if you want to get into the construction industry or the design industry, and I would suggest you direct your career to faculties like architecture, engineering, environmental design, and workplace safety. Those are all goods. And the same goes for your work experience. You want to try to get into firms like that. And you can get a lot of entry-level jobs into the construction industry. So you can join up with a landscape firm pretty easily and become like a laborer on their crew and then work your way into the design side of things. Now, as an employer, I believe that the company you keep says a lot about who that person is. And so when we're looking for employees and new recruits, I tend to favor any referrals that are coming from within our firm. So if I have a great group of people, and if I have somebody that refers somebody from within, then I know that I can trust that person. It's going to be probably similar, and similar has the same set of values and the same culture, and they'll fit better into our company structure. So keeping in mind when you're looking for a career choice, you want to network with the people that are looking to take their career seriously, and that's a really good way to get your foot in the door. Also, we, of course, when we're looking at new applicants, we're looking at work ethic, willingness to learn, if they take initiative, creativity, and the most important is their attitude. And I'm going to mention this a little bit later in my slide, but I'm going to show a video right away here. And attitude is a huge part of any getting into any career effectively. So I hope that gives you a better idea of what we do. A lot of the slides or in that video you saw like the process we go through basically to go from design to all the way through to construction, and that's basically our competitive edge. It allows our clients to see what they're going to get before we do any heavy construction, and that's a huge cost saver. So the next thing I want to talk about is market trends, and or I should say industry trends, because in any industry, the client and the consumer is what drives the trend. So they're going to be the ones that are going to reward your firm, the business, and they're going to be the ones that are going to decide what you put out there. But you can also shape trends as well. So with regards to good marketing and also good planning and good design. So and educating the client. And what I've found in my industry is that a lot of our clients are becoming more eco-conscious, and they're thinking of or becoming conscious of things like wastewater management. So, for example, in all of our landscapes, we'll put in rain drains at all the eaves troughs, and we'll direct all that to one reservoir, which then they can recycle back to using in their gardens. And a lot of clients are starting to grow their own homemade gardens, and you'll see that as a trend in Winnipeg too. All around the city, you'll see these communal gardens around like CN rail tracks and on hydro land and stuff like that. So that's another trend as well. People are becoming aware of planting native prairie plants and perennials and flowers that attract bees and butterflies and pollinators. So this is one of our landscapes that you see up on the screen there. That purple plant is called Russian sage. It's a very great plant for color, and it keeps its flowers a lot of the time of the year, and it attracts bees. So it doesn't attract wasps. People sometimes get mixed up between the two, but wasps come around if you have crab apples and things like that. But the bees are all over the Russian sage, and it's a beautiful plant. The other plant in the back there, that tall grass, you've probably seen that a lot. It's very popular, and that's just a native prairie plant, but it's very low maintenance, and it's a good alternative to like say lawn, because lawn is a huge waster of water versus these guys that you basically plant and they come back every year. So perennials and native prairie plants. Another trend I've noticed is people are starting to wake up and realize to use less pesticides and herbicides around their home, because that's the place they interact with, and they don't want to have those poisonous chemicals, coming into contact with them and their children. So there's other ways that you can control that, and that goes back to being a designer. When you're designing a yard for somebody or designing a commercial space, you want to design it in such a way that it's very low maintenance. So you'll see some places that are in public places where they have swaths of this natural grass, and it's very low maintenance, and it's basically what would grow here naturally. So another trend I see is in that a lot of architects and engineers are starting to recognize is when they develop urban spaces. And most of you, I would assume, would rather hang out in a place that looks like this as a public space versus places like this, which are empty parking lots, and same with this guy there. So what we're seeing is that we're starting to design urban places that are built around the pedestrian and not so much around the automobile. And those are the places that people want to hang out. Those are the key places that really bring people to a space and make it great. So back to what we do, like I was mentioning before, we use a lot of technology. So we use this program you see here, which is called Sketchup. It's pretty much free on Google. And we also will build landscape plans that you see, like that one above there. This is called Visitera, and this is the one that most clients like because they can see everything in 3D. You can actually fly through and walk and see all that finished product. And then obviously the end result there. And again, that's a SketchUp slide. It's a detail we use. So my next topic, or second last topic, I should say, is entrepreneurs. And like I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, I'm an entrepreneur. And many of you here are looking for your what you want to do in your career. And many of you might be thinking, well, I might want to be my own boss one day. And you might be thinking that you're an entrepreneur. So I believe that entrepreneurs are born a certain way. But I also believe that they have inherited qualities that have to be fostered in the right environment. So personally for myself, I feel that those qualities had been fostered and cultivated, and I would give credit to basically my liberal arts education. And a lot of people say that, you know, going to school and getting a BA in humanities and things like that is not as marketable. But if you're an entrepreneur, what a liberal arts education will teach you to do is they'll teach you to have the ability to be a critical thinker. And I'm not saying other courses don't do that, but liberal arts really helps with developing critical thinking. And the reason I say that is because critical thinking forces you to ask the question why. And it opens your mind to question the status quo. And you start to ask questions like, what if? What if this product, what if this process, what if this system that we're trying to do could work differently? And, you know, this is, in the end, ultimately what drives creativity. This is what drives imagination, and this is really what drives change. So that combination really helps if you're trying to be an entrepreneur. And you don't have to look far to see great examples of this. Some of the world's greatest business leaders, Elon Musk, who owns Tesla, John McKay, he started Whole Foods. Of course, everybody knows Steve Jobs, who did Apple. Richard Branson, who did Virgin. Bill Gates, who started Microsoft, and the guys at Google. And there's countless others, like the people that started Costco. All these individuals did not get ahead in their career and become successful by doing business as usual. All of them started off by asking the questions, what if I did things differently? And that's all a function, like I said, of critical thinking. So, you know, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to get your name out there, you have to build a reputation, and then opportunities will present themselves to you automatically, and it's pretty easy to get that start. But beyond that, you know, you have to have certain key characteristics, I think, that'll make you continue to have success as an entrepreneur. And one thing is dependability. Dependability will foster respect and trust in your clients. So if you show up to a meeting on time and you say you're going to be there and you be there, that's a huge part of developing dependability. And you have to do the same thing when you're working with your employees. If you're going to promise them something, you're going to do it, and you're going to do it right away. So the next thing is hard work. You have to be a hard worker, and you won't find many entrepreneurs who aren't workaholics. Myself, I am a workaholic, but I do have to turn off sometimes and realize that I have to find balance in my life. So if you're a workaholic, you have one of those traits. You have to be able to manage risk, and you have to always have a backup plan. You have to be able to get in. You need to get insurance, especially if in the industry, and that's going back to safety. You cannot cut corners, so that is part of managing risk. And the most important thing is you have to enjoy what you do. And I'm only good at what I do is because I love it. I'm not in it just to make money. I do it because I get a lot of job satisfaction. I get a lot of satisfaction from seeing that clients appreciate what we do, and even the people that I work with, they get that too, and so that's why they keep coming back. We have really good retention in our company because of that. And so, like I said, if you're wanting to get into the construction industry, one benefit of being an entrepreneur is, you know, it slows down quite a bit in the wintertime. We get 4 feet of snow in the winter, so it's a slower time, and I do a lot more design work and consultation work, and we do some commercial snow clearing to keep things busy. But I do get those 4 months off, so I can basically take off to Hawaii to go surfing, or I go kiteboarding or snowboarding or whatever. So you do get a bit of a break. And the money in the industry is good, but that's all dependent on the individual's perspective. Some people, a certain amount of money is good enough for them, others it isn't. But for me, the main things that keep me in this career is I get to control my schedule, I get to control my dress code, and I get to control my future. And again, the most important is I enjoy what I do. So finally, the last thing I'm going to mention is attitude. And as I had mentioned before, this is one of the most important aspects going into any career. And it's the one thing that you as a young person has complete control over. And I know this is a bit cliche, and your teachers and your parents have always told you this, but it's no truer from it's one of the most true things you could follow. And if you approach every task, no matter how mundane or unpleasant, with a positive attitude, that task is going to be either of those things. It's going to be just like coming naturally to you. So positive attitude is huge. I don't know how many of you have ever went into a store and you've gotten really poor service from somebody, and then you went back to the same store and got really good service. Well, when you go back to that store again, you're going to look for the person that gave you great service, and you're going to always go back to them, and you're going back to them, and they're getting the business that you were bringing because they had that positive attitude. And not only will a positive attitude help you get your foot into the right career and get you new contracts if you're a business owner, but it'll also help you work a lot better with others. That positive attitude is very infectious, and so if you're working with a group of people and you're very positive, they're going to do the same. If you're pessimistic, then they're going to be brought down too, and it sort of poisons the team. So just keep that in the back of your head, that you always have to approach everything in a very positive manner. And as an employer, when I'm looking for a new hire, I look at how the person interacts with me on email. I look at how they interact with me on the telephone in the face-to-face interview, and of course with the group as when they do get hired in a probation period. And so that, again, it goes back to how their attitude is with the overall group. So I'm going to wrap up with a short video, which basically will give you a better idea of the culture that I've created in my company, and the type of people that work with us. Thanks. Okay, that's pretty much the top.